Oh, World of 12 Years later again. I was wondering about that clinic actually. Like the one that is mentioned. Yeah, right here. He once ran a hospital in Nijima. Like I was wondering if there's maybe there's something that was maybe there's something that was researched that ties to all this. The clinic that Nanjo had opened and later passed on to his son still existed on Nijima, but I guess it's just a hospital, so no research there, maybe? Who knows? This aged doctor was Nanjo's son, but the atmosphere about him was very different. Another one without a new image.
I'm truly sorry to say this after you've come all this way, but I have nothing in particular to tell you.
Nanjo's son said that very indifferently.
After the accident, that island was taken up by the broadcast in the most indiscreet manner. Even my father, who was Mr. Ushidomiya's doctor and friend, was focused upon by many with a wholly regrettable interest. All of it was without proof, and they even managed to defile all of my father's previous achievements. I still feel a great deal of resentment because of that.
I think that's understandable. The same thing happened to me. I had to put up with it constantly since I was 6.
True. My apologies.
The doctor finally remembered that Angie was also a victim who had been exposed to the same curious eyes as he had been.
In that case, you can probably understand why I don't want to have anything to do with that incident. That was an unfortunate accident. The only ones who want to make a fuss about it being a crime are those irresponsible TV shows and magazines. I am more than fed up with their attitude.
Nanjo had been bathed with attention for being one of Ushidomiya Kinzo's few friends. Because of that, there was probably an aggressive and persistent rush among the witch hunters and the press to use Nanjo's son as well, a surviving relative, as a source of information. The doctor went on and on, criticizing the press indignantly. I really understand how you feel, but can you please shut up about the press? For a person like me who was observed even in her personal life, and whose privacy, likeness, and even human rights might have been violated, it's really easy to pick up on the anger of someone in your position. And for that very reason, I want to know more than anything else, what in the world happened in the incident that so thoroughly ruined my life? So I came here. I'm a related party just like you, not a magazine columnist or an interviewer. Please don't get the wrong idea. I didn't come to do this for fun. Quit looking down on me. If we're gonna argue over whose life was most screwed up by that incident, you're no match for me. Huh? Angie spoke sharply. The doctor, who hadn't imagined that he would be talked back to in such a forceful manner, couldn't help but fall silent. From Angie's perspective, the doctor really was whining over nothing. She really didn't want to be looked down upon. It was about time to let him understand how many days had passed for her before arriving on this island. The doctor realized that he had said something wrong and remained silent for a while, looking uncomfortable. I know it's probably painful to remember what happened at the time, but if there's anything you do know, please tell me no matter what it is. Of course, I'll keep quiet about it. I visited here today to bring some resolution to my life. I'm 18. That incident took away 12 years of my life, and it will probably keep on taking. Since that day when I was 6 years old, I've remained shut away in darkness. Are you saying that despite that I still don't have a right to know?
No. How rude of me. It seems that since all the others who came were ill-natured folk, I instinctively put up my guard. I apologize for my rudeness. I understand. If you'll swear not to breathe a word of this to anyone, I'll tell you everything.
Thanks, Doctor. Then if you would, please tell me anything you can.
As you know, my father was not only Mr. Ushidomiya's head physician, but his friend through the game of chess. That relationship was very long, stretching back to the time Mr. Ushidomiya moved to Rokkanjima.
Just how close were they?
Very close, it seems. It seems that the connection through chess led my father to stay in Mr. Ushidomiya's mansion quite often. Although I may not be one to talk, Mr. Ushidomiya was extremely moody. And my father was an extremely magnanimous man who excelled at interacting with humans like him. It's not hard to imagine that he was a rare friend for the isolated Mr. Ushidomiya. That day was the day of the family conference. At the Ushidomiya family conference, the family's wealth and its management were rigorously scrutinized, making it almost like a financial conference. Which means Dr. Nanjo must have gained a trust so great that he was asked to attend even that, right?
Oh, I guess that was, that was Angie probably.
My father was a simple doctor, so I cannot imagine that he was in a position to advise on the management of financial resources for a massively rich family like the Shidomiya family. He was most likely called there to assist with Mr. Shidomiya's health because it was not at its best at the time. As Kinzo's close friend, I'm sure my father would have kept his mouth shut and that he was trusted not to leak the secrets of the family conference.
Wasn't Shidomiya Kinzo in very bad health at the time? Were there any medical charts left behind?
Perhaps he brought the medical charts with him on the day of the accident. I'm afraid to say that the entire folder of Mr. Shidomiya's medical charts has been lost. He was my father's patient, so I do not know the details.
Around the time of the incident, did anything strange happen?
Yes, there was one thing. However, it seems exceedingly likely to invite misunderstandings, so I very much do not wish to discuss it.
What is it? Please tell me. For a while the doctor beat around the bush, but after saying that much he wouldn't be able to fool Angie by dodging the subject. He eventually gave in, and after making Angie swear herself to secrecy again, told her.
The truth is, several days after that accident, I received something by mail at my home.
Huh? By mail? What the fuck?
It was very curious. The sender was made out to be me, but I had no memory of it.
Huh? What the hell?
Someone had faked my name and sent it. The destination was Rebun Island in Hokkaido. Excluding the northern territories, it is at the northernmost tip of Japan. The recipient was apparently a resident on Rebun Island, but the name was my father's.
So, he himself sent a letter to his father? Even though his father died, and he doesn't remember it, and what? Huh?
However, it seemed that there was a problem with the destination address, so it was stamped as address unknown, and returned to the sender, me.
Oh, I see. I was about to wonder how he even got his hands on the letter, if it was sent to Hokkaido.
That's gonna be weird.
Imagine you get a letter and the envelope says that you actually sent that letter and it just came back to you because the recipient address was wrong. That would be very creepy and weird. It was truly a strange tale. Nanjo's son's name was written as the sender. However, he said that he hadn't mailed the letter. In short, that meant someone had faked his name and sent it. The destination was Nanjo Terumasa on Hokkaido's Rebun Island, but the lot number written on it didn't exist, so the local post office had been unable to deliver it and instead sent it back to the sender, Nanjo's son. What was inside?
I do ask you keep silent about this. It is extremely troublesome to me as well, and even so I cannot throw it away.
This is very mysterious. The doctor stood up and faced a bookshelf that was packed a group of dictionaries that could only have been ornamental, meant to make it very clear that the owner was an intellectual. When he pulled several volumes out from there, a large brown envelope peeked out from behind them. He took that out and tossed it into the desk. It had been carefully sealed with cellophane tape, and its faded color and dryness made it clear that it had been sealed 12 years ago.
I ask most solemnly for your silence on this matter.
Being so persistent that it was annoying, the doctor removed the seal with a paper knife. Then when he tilted the envelope, an already opened mail envelope spilled out. The envelope had a weight to it, hinting that there was something other than a letter inside. The recipient was certainly Nanjo Terumasa. Just seeing that was a huge shock. Following that incident, Nanjo's corpse had not been found, and he had eventually been treated as dead after going missing under extraordinary circumstances. And despite that, this letter addressed to a Nanjo in Hokkaido existed. One could almost take this as a sign that he had faked his own death and escaped to Hokkaido. Was Dr. Nanjo really in Hokkaido? Or else was there another person with the same first and last names in Hokkaido?
If my father had somehow escaped from the accident and lived in Hokkaido, that would have made us of his family very happy, regardless of the circumstances. I also thought of that possibility at first. However, the envelope's destination address does not exist. In short, this envelope was mailed that had no way of reaching him.
Is there a possibility that the sender miswrote the correct address?
Of course, I cannot deny it. However, judging from the residence's house number, I find that hard to believe.
Hokkaido, Rebun Island, Rebun Country, Rebun City, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Up until Rebun City, it's fine. But I just couldn't wipe away the feeling that the sequential number after it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, was a little insincere. It felt like a fake number that some kid had made up.
They probably wrote a nonsense number that clearly didn't exist. I think it's natural to assume that from the very beginning, this envelope was sent to a non-existent residence to which it had no chance of being delivered.
If the destination address doesn't exist, mail is generally returned to the sender. But even in the case of an incomplete address, the local post office will often courteously, and to the best of its ability, research to find whether the sender's intended destination exists. When they still can't find it, the mail is sometimes returned after an investigation of several days. It seemed that the same thing had happened with this envelope, and the stamp was postmarked on October 3rd. It was postmarked on Niijima. Niijima was a long way from Rewan Island. On top of that, the destination was also nonsensical. It had taken more than a week for the mail to be returned. In other words, there was probably a high chance that having the envelope returned to the sender after an unfixed amount of time had been the goal from the very beginning. Why do something like that? Even before asking what it was that had been sent, this envelope was already wrapped in mystery. Well, I guess you could do that if you wanted to send something to somebody without, letting them know who you are. Although in that case, you could also just write the recipient but not write the sender's address at all. And inside it, is it the ring? The head's ring?
Go ahead.
After getting the doctor's permission, I tilted the already open envelope. From the inside came a small folded letter and a small key with a number plate attached. Then a magnetic card slid out. The hell? A112 was engraved on the key's number plate. I'm so confused. I didn't know what it meant. The magnetic card was pitch black and had gold characters engraved in it. Members was written in English. The jet black gold-lettered card design made it feel like something very high class, but of course I didn't have a clue what kind of card it was just from that. I unfolded the letter. Its contents were extremely brief, and only the following was written. I knew it. Somehow I had the feeling that this number would pop up right now. I don't even know why. Maybe just because there were a few mysterious numbers before that made me remember the mysterious 8 numbers. Also written was the name of a certain massive bank, known throughout Japan, as well as the words Central Branch. That was all. And this is?
It's a card, a key, and a pin for a safe deposit box. And it wasn't a normal safe deposit box either. It was an unsettling one, which was apparently reserved only for special clients.
After he finished putting his affairs in order following his father's funeral, he had visited the bank. Pin and key and card. There was no doubt that something of great importance was kept there, and he had been naturally curious about what it might be. At first he hadn't known what to do. The card wasn't something he had owned in the first place. When he mustered up his courage and showed the card to a bank clerk, he was then switched to a clerk of clearly high status and was guided to a large vault on the 4th basement. The security on the way there was strict. The doctor had himself stored valuable items such as real estate transcripts in safe deposit boxes before, but this was something on a whole different level.
Unlike the procedure at the deposit box I had been using, with this system, as long as you had a card, a pin, and a key, you didn't need to have your identity confirmed.
Which might have been the purpose in the first place.
But anyway, I was frightened at how imposing that secure vault was, and I wondered what kind of shady objects might await me that had to be stored in a place like this.
Is it the gold? Nah, that can't be. Then he wouldn't be here anymore, would he? He would probably be on Hawaii, slurping drinks all the time. I don't know. And then?
When I passed the card through the reader, I was asked to input the PIN, and after that 8-digit number was input and authenticated, I was permitted access to the vault. It was an incredible scene. A world like something from a sci-fi movie. The massive dimly lit silver room was covered with doors to safes.
He had entered that room along with a clerk. It seems that as soon as the card was read, the vaults he had a right to were determined, so that safes he could open were lit with a green light, while those he couldn't open were lit with a red one.
A112 was one of those safes that were marked. By the way, there were several other safes marked with a green lamp besides that one. I think there were at least 20.
20, huh?
There might even have been more in the other corner. In any event, I only had the key to A112. I had no way of checking the contents of the other safes.
As the clerk watched, the doctor had unlocked and opened the safe. When he did, a safe drawer like a large cabinet had opened, and an expensive-looking duralumin case peeked out. I just had to think of, why did I forget his name? You know, Danganronpa. Glasses. He had a duralumin case in Danganronpa too. Byakuya, goddammit. That was carried into a separate room, where for the first time the clerk left, and he was introduced to the contents. Togami, Byakuya. And the contents were? Cash. Cash? How much?
I've heard that a pack of 1 million yen in fresh banknotes is precisely 1 centimeter thick. Since those were packed tightly into a duralumin case of such a size, there was probably 100 million in total. I don't know because I didn't count. Didn't even touch it with my hands. I realized at once, this was dangerous money.
It isn't normal to store a whole 100 million yen in cash in a case in a safe like that. It's much easier to deal with if you put it into an account and turn it into numbers. When someone is unable to do that, then it's clear that there's something wrong with that cash.
My mind went blank and I instantly realized that I mustn't get involved.
So you didn't use it at all?
Correct. I looked it back up just as I'd found it, returned it to the original safe, and left. I have thought about throwing away that key and card, but I don't know what will happen. For that reason, I have been hiding it in the back of this bookcase for a full 12 years. Still do not know what kind of money that was.
Could I borrow this envelope?
No. Please just view it here.
Understood. And if you'll excuse me, there's something I want to investigate. The writing. I took Onichan's grimoire from the knapsack I had set down. Then I opened through the page with the paragraph Beatrice had written to Onichan and compared the handwriting on both. There was no mistake about the characteristic handwriting. The one who had sent this 100 million yen in cash was Beatrice herself. But what is it? Something's bugging me. What is it? What could it be? Who the hell are you?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I got something like that in the mail. Hey, Ma, where do you put that?
The same envelope and contents had been sent to Kumazawa's son, who had once lived with her. But he had been very busy in the days since and seemed to have forgotten about it while running around all over the place. Does that say mackerel on his cloth? The left part is definitely fish, but I'm not that familiar with all the million fish kanji. But I would not be surprised if that was actually mackerel on his fucking pullover. Damn you. I love that there's a fish emote on Twitch, actually. Okay, back to this. The same envelope and contents had been sent to Kumazawa's son, who had once lived with her, but he had been very busy in the days since and seemed to have forgotten about it while running around all over the place. However, its strange contents had apparently stayed in his memory, and he remembered as soon as Angie mentioned it to him. After a bit of a wait, his thin-lipped wife found the envelope, complaining that he always forgot where he put things right away. Okay, it is mackerel. On his t-shirt, I mean. Oh, sweater or whatever that was. The modus operandi for the sender and recipient was the same as Nanjo's son's. The sender was made out to be Kumazawa's son, and the recipient was Kumazawa Chiyo. And the destination address was in the Okinawa Prefecture. Okinawa Prefecture, Yaeyama County, Yonaguni City, 1234567. Yonaguni Island was at the westernmost tip of Japan, and the lot name was the exact same sequential number that had apparently been chosen without much care. Now it was certain. This envelope was definitely sent with the goal of having it be returned to the sender. Its contents were exactly the same. A letter with a pin and the bank's main branch written on it, a magnetic card, a key with an attached number plate. The inscription on the number plate was A113, the number right after the one on the key that had been sent to Nanjo. Most likely inside the vault was the same kind of duralumin case packed with 100 million yen in cash. But why?
I get the feeling my dead mother sent it to me from beyond the grave. Don't really get what's inside and it's creepy, so I just left it alone all this time and totally forgot about it until today. So you know what this is, girl? Could it be that the same kind of thing came to your place?
Huh. What is it, Angie-sama?
Who do you? Is it a headache? A headache?
Sorry, my head hurts. I've got it. I know.
What do you mean, you know?
You don't mean this envelope came to your place too, Angie-sama? I've remembered. I have remembered. A strange envelope was also sent to me 12 years ago. Yeah, I mean, if you're 6, I guess you don't really know what to do with that. I'll probably vaguely remember that 12 years later. After losing my entire family, I was depressed. Understandably so, but it was a really strange thing to come in the mail, so I still had a faint memory of it. It was a strange letter which I had no memory of sending, but which had me as the sender. I forget the destination address, but the named recipient had been Oshiromiya Rudolph, my father. I remember how disturbed I was when I got a letter I thought was from father, opened it up, and found a key and a card that I didn't really understand. I felt let down and threw it away somewhere, I think. Where did I put that envelope? I probably lost it somewhere in the chaos that followed. By now, I have no way of checking its contents. However, I have a general idea. I'm sure the contents were the same. Without a doubt, there had been a key, a card, and a note with a pin inside the envelope. Beatrice, what was she trying to do here? So did she hand out the stupid money to all the surviving relatives? I won't forgive her for mocking them even after their death.
Udio, Angie.
Sakutaro acted nervously. As I looked at his worrying face, my agitation began to cool off bit by bit. I'm sorry, my hatred of Beatrice isn't anything new. I was just surprised and angry to find out that I had a connection with the witch already at the age of 6 on that day. For the past 12 years, you've been constantly enslaved by Beatrice Summer's curse. This might be proof of that occurs, but please, hang in there. Breaking through that was supposed to be part of the goal of this journey. That's right. Just letting the blood rise to my head won't get me anywhere. Gotta think calmly. What's going on? What's the meaning of handing out 100 million yen to the relatives? Is she trying to provoke us? Damn that Beatrice.
Angie, calm down. Udio.
As Sakutaro buried his head in my stomach, he urged me to stay calm. I took another deep breath and started thinking. I wonder if this envelope was sent to support the theory that Beatrice was behind that crime. It was postmarked right before the family conference, and it was before. That is weird as well. And it was intentionally set up so that it would be sent back after some time.
They wanted to arrive after the incident, is that it?
Yeah, that's what it implies. But it raises a few questions. Why use such an uncertain method? Uncertain? Yes. After all, no one could even guess at how many days it would take for the mail to return before you used this trick. Normally, you couldn't even guess at the amount of time it would take for the receiving post office to do their research, determine that the recipient was unknown, and return it.
Yeah, now that you mention it, it'd be more dependable if they just set an arrival date and mailed it that way. Udio.
Maybe, but still, if they mailed it the day before, then no matter how quickly it returned, it would probably arrive Monday or later. I wonder if they wanted to make it seem like a letter from the dead. A letter from the dead, you say? You're right. It surprised me and it made me feel bad. Some mail with my dead family's name written on the outside in large letters was thrown into the mailbox with an ominous label attached. However, it doesn't really make sense to me. I would have mailed it to arrive on a specified day. I just can't understand why someone would allow the uncertainty of it arriving on a day other than the one they imagine.
Udio, but it really does sound like Beato to me.
Huh? You know about Beato?
Well, I only talked with her a little. Still, I can pretty much accept that Beato would do something like this. Can't you imagine that happening to Mammon? Beato likes pranks like this, right?
Yeah, that might be true. I wouldn't put it past Beatrice Summer to try a vicious prank like a letter from the dead.
No, that's not all. Beatrice would find it more interesting to do it through an uncertain method instead of one that was absolutely certain.
She would find an uncertain method interesting? I remembered Maria Onatian's diary. It had described playing with Beatrice very often. During those times, Beatrice sometimes played pranks on the adult relatives with Maria, but those pranks always had a touch of witch aesthetics, which was that they were more interesting when they were uncertain. One day, Maria Onatian and Beato decided to use a wind-up minicar she had brought up for a prank. It was a popular toy at the time, and if you made the minicar back up, it would wind up the spring in the tires, and when you let go, it would race forwards. They had wound up the minicar and set it behind a milk jug. In other words, the prank was that if you lift the milk jug, the minicar would jump forwards and surprise whoever did it. Hoping that someone would get caught in this prank, Onechan and Beata had watched the adults from the shadows for the whole tea time. They were looking forward to seeing someone get caught by it, but no one moved the trap milk jug, and the trap ended in a misfire. When Onechan had then muttered, "We should have put it somewhere where it would have definitely caught someone," Beata apparently said this: "The most interesting and thrilling traps are those where you don't know who will get caught, or even if anyone will get caught at all." It's probably true that you wouldn't get this kind of excitement from a trap that would certainly go off. Similar accounts occurred in multiple places, making it possible to guess that the witch called Beatrice had a fickle character and loved a random thrill. A fickle person is very hard to deal with. I can't spin the chessboard around to find out what that witch from 12 years ago was planning. As Angie examined these, her gaze darted from place to place. Then she suddenly showed interest in the wall. There, several framed pictures were hung. Many of them were commemorative photos from when the relatives of the Kumasawa family gathered or went somewhere to play, and Kumasawa was in several. And she still wore a smile that made it so you could almost hear her light-hearted ho-ho-ho laugh. It's part of my distant memory, but I definitely remember that she was this sort of cheerful old lady. Did you notice anything different about Kumasawa-san in the days leading up to the incident?
Nope, she looked the same as ever. The family conference put her on edge, so she was always grumbling about how tough it was.
Huh? What's this? Among the several frames, there was one that had something other than a picture of people in it. It was a picture of an enlarged relief of a door from a Western-style house or something. You couldn't see any interesting subject in particular, which actually bugged me a bit as I wondered why anyone had gone to all the trouble of taking it. As I got closer, I realized that some characters had been written with a pen.
Oh yeah, that's a photo I got when Mother's belongings were distributed. I think it probably has something to do with that Legend of the Gold thing.
The witch's epitaph, you mean? We still don't have it here, you know? Like yesterday, I was actually trying to take a look at the epitaph again, and it's not here, so I had to go to the main menu.
It was whispered that it pointed out the location of the hidden 10 tons of gold, so Kumasan wasn't trying to solve it too. But this isn't the epitaph. It's the first time I've seen it.
There was an arch above the western-style door, and that's where the relief was. English words were engraved there, and that seemed to be what the picture was focused on. Is it the chapel? The chapel? The pen writing appeared to be a translation into Japanese. This door is opened only at a probability of a quadrillion to 1. You will be blessed only at a probability of a quadrillion to 1. I don't recognize it. Nothing like this ever showed up in the epitaph or in Nechan's diary.
In Mother's belongings, there were quite a few photos and notes that looked like they're trying to solve the riddle of the epitaph. Mother was actually surprisingly fond of that kind of thing. And there was that rumor that 10 tons of gold bars were hidden somewhere. It's no surprise she got so absorbed by it.
In both Maria Onechan's diary and in her grimoire, there was a description of the witch's epitaph. It had talked about how it was a ceremony to open the door to the Golden Land, Beatrice's resurrection ceremony, Beatrice's succession ceremony, on and on. Maybe the most interesting one was the last part about it being succession ceremony. According to Beatrice, if you were able to solve the witch's epitaph, you would receive not only the 10 tons of gold and the Yoshidomiya family inheritance, but her own magical power and name, as well as the title of Golden Witch. Among the Yoshidomiya family household at the time, the witch's epitaph was thought of as a difficult quiz, which the family head Kinzu had arranged for to choose his successor. But with the mariage sorcière interpretation, the questioner was Beatrice herself, and she had posed the question in part to choose her successor. There were slight discrepancies in the details of the two interpretations. Either way, its ominous contents brought to mind a bloody serial murder, and both of the message bottles drew a tale of a crime following that pattern. If I could solve the witch's epitaph now, 12 years later, I wonder if I could expose some plot made back then. I tried to solve it many times myself, but I never did have a clue what it meant. Same here. It seems that many witch hunters tried as well. I also found theories like the La Plata theory and the Inoura theory in certain books, but however, neither of these theories were conclusive. Are there any other materials?
I think so, but they were all split up between my siblings. I don't have a clue who has what, sorry.
Just reading this English text that Kumasawa-san took a picture of, it gives me the impression that this was a forbidden door that was rarely opened. But where in the mansion is it, I wonder? Judging by the lighting, it looks like it's outside. I wonder if Kumasawa-san thought that the gold might be hidden in there.
Who knows? Either way, I do wonder where the Rokkenjima mansion it was. I hate to say it, but there wasn't enough money in Mother's bank account to make me think she found the gold. She probably didn't find it after all.
That's interesting, Aaron. The Golden Witch Beatrice gave 10 tons of gold to Kinzo, which meant that the witch was the true owner of the gold. Beatrice was the owner of all the vast fortune of the Yoshidomiya family. The witch holding this vast wealth had massacred the humans on Rokkenjima on that day, sending large amounts of money to the surviving relatives like it was a game, like hell is a letter from the dead. This is a desecration of the dead. I was once again convinced. When my family died on that island that day, they didn't go to heaven. They're being trapped by the witch even now and are being desecrated and tormented for all eternity. The last place Angie visited was a store in the region between the housing district and the retail stores with a signboard saying Marufuku Sleep Shop. There lived the man who had been the boat captain of the ferry boat to Rokkenjima at the time. Even he, who had once lived as a man of the sea, had retired after contracting a serious illness and was now taking care of at the house of his son and his son's wife.
I remember it very well. You were still about this small. Look how you've grown. And it must have been very tough on you. I know very well how you must feel.
The former boat captain was in such high spirits that you couldn't really tell why he had retired in the first place. His memories seemed clear too, and he could remember the events of more than a decade ago well, apparently even about how Angie had been at the time. The way he chatted on was very helpful for Angie. But at the same time, he also remembered the final family conference very well, and the fact that he remembered even details like Battler's fall for all madness on the boat was actually painful for her. It had been so back then as well, but even now there was no public way to cross to Rokkenjima. It was necessary to make an individual request to an owner of a boat to make the voyage. I had been unable to arrange for a boat to Rokkenjima, so if he refused me, such a voyage would probably become hopeless.
I won't be easy to find a boat eager to go to that island, but now there are even some who call it by its old name, Akujiki-shima, instead of Rokkenjima. It's understandable why the sailors around you would turn down your request.
From the start, fishermen had feared Rokkenjima as an island of misfortune, and because of that incident 12 years ago, this fear had reached a peak. They respected the sea, feared it, and revered it. There were almost no sailors who would try to take a boat to the cursed island. Because of that, most of the witch hunters were unable to cross over to Rokkenjima, and were limited to taking a trip around the island. Ironically, this had caused the sense of mystery surrounding Rokkenjima to increase even more, which had resulted in the propagation of the bizarre witch stories they loved so much. Would you take me in your boat?
Yep, I will take you in my boat. Well, they're supposed to give it back to me just for tomorrow, though it seems its engine has been in a pretty bad mood lately. I'll knock it into shape.
The former boat captain promised that tomorrow he would go back to his previous job and take his boat out to Rokkenjima. Now my method of transport to Rokkenjima is ensured. This is probably all I can do on Niijima, and all that's left is tomorrow. On Rokkenjima, I'll reach the final destination of a journey that stretches back 12 years.
Isn't that great? This way it looks like you'll be able to go to the island, would you?
It sure does. I had heard that it would be hard to find a boat, so the boat captain's helpfulness really saved me. Although it may not be the same as it was for you, Angie-sama, I'm sure the incident 12 years ago has been a thorn for the boat captain as well, one that it still hasn't been able to pull out.
Would you? Even the boat captain wasn't able to sort out his feelings this whole time.
That's probably true. If that guy had taken his boat out on October 5th, as promised, there's a chance that he could have saved a lot of people. If he hadn't been hesitant to go out just because of that little wind...
Would you? You shouldn't say things like that. I'm sure that's pained the boat captain constantly until today.
Apparently they truly had been right in the middle of a typhoon on October 5th. According to the boat captain, he had known for certain that they'd be trapped by the typhoon if they headed to Rokkenjima on October 4th, but the family had been very persistent about the date of their conference, which had been determined beforehand. It was only natural. All of the relatives had been very busy at the time, and they came to the family conference only after arranging their schedules beforehand. It was probably a situation where they couldn't easily push it back to the next week, just because a typhoon was approaching. It wasn't the boat captain's fault, but perhaps you could say that he wasn't so responsible that he could place the blame wholly on the typhoon. Certainly, just as these two said, there's no doubt that the boat captain has been dragging the events of 12 years ago along with him this whole time, and by taking me, the last member of the Ushidomiya line, to the island, and bringing me back safely, he might be trying to find some resolution for his past. I like that.
The boat is supposed to return this afternoon. I'll guide you to Okajima after that, so we should arrive before evening. It's an island without electricity or lights. You won't be able to stay long. Will you be satisfied with a landing that short?
There's nothing that would make me more satisfied by staying longer. I'm grateful just to have you take me there.
Yeah, don't mention it. If I hadn't parted with my boat, I'd be able to guide you to the island as much as you like without being stingy.
It's not like I have a goal of doing something in particular on Rokkanjima, so I'll be there during the evening. Oh, during the evening. The evening, which straddles the two different worlds of day and night, seemed almost like a borderline between this world and the next, or possibly 1998 and 1986, and it felt like the most fitting time to visit Rokkanjima. It's not like I have anything in particular to do there, just staying there for a few hours should be enough for me to find some closure. At that time there was a small knock on the paper sliding door and Amakusa stuck his head in, tapping his watch. I nodded back and told him about how I had succeeded in reserving a boat for tomorrow.
That's great. It's about time for us to go. We'll be counting on you tomorrow, Captain. Sure, leave it to me. I've heard all about what you guys have gone through. I also watched the talk shows at the time and was disgusted by the people who stirred up that incident just for fun. I'll help out any way I can.
Thank you very much. Then we'll see you at noon tomorrow. Here, the fare for the boat. Angie took a wad of 10,000 yen bills from her pocket. The boat captain should have noticed its thickness as well, but he paid it absolutely no interest and shook his head.
I'm grateful to you. This is a sign from the heavens. I've been given a final chance to take you to Rokkanjima and bring you back safely. Now I'll finally be able to finish the final job Kinzo-san entrusted me with. So I'm grateful to you. I got more than enough money from Kinzo-san back then. I can't accept yours.
Thank you very much.
Watch your step on the stairs. It's steep.
I went down the steep staircase that was the exact opposite of accessible. It was getting hard to believe that there was actually a chest of drawers and a TV in the room upstairs. Most of the first floor was a bedding store with many futons piled up on each other. We weaved our way through the cramped futon shop. After cautiously checking around outside, Amakusa dashed out first and started up the car.
My grandchild's room is empty. I really wouldn't mind if you stayed there. As you see, we've got plenty of extra futons.
Thanks a lot for the offer. But this way, even if the unexpected happens, you won't be bothered.
I don't know the details, but it seems you've been caught up in a lot of trouble. There's a rumor that some suspicious people are searching for someone. That wouldn't happen to be you, would it?
Who knows? Angie played dumb, but it looked as though the boat captain had guessed.
My job is to take us to Rokkanjima and bring them back again. And that job was put on hold 12 years ago and it still hasn't ended. So thanks to you, I'm finally be able to finish it. So listen, let me finish this job, okay? Do you understand me?
Yeah. It's not like I'm going there to die. Huge flag? But part of me does feel that if I could die on that island, I'd surely be able to go to where my family is. I've finally become aware of it. I might have been planning to die on that island. I might have come all this way, heading towards Rokkanjima in search of a place to die. The boat captain had guessed that as well. That's why he repeatedly told me not to die. Yeah, I won't die, I promise. Probably. After all, I'm still not sure if there is any reason why I need to go to Rokkanjima.
No, I'm sure there's a reason. If there isn't one for you, there's one for them. The island called you, that's why you came here.
That night might be true. I might have been called. I was called. For what reason? For them. Father, Mother, Butler Onichan, Aunt Maria Onichan, or maybe the Golden Witch, Beatrice. What is on Rokkanjima, and what will I achieve? Even though tomorrow is finally almost here, I still haven't been able to understand my own mission. There was the sound of a car stopping in front of the store, and a short honk could be heard. Then I'll see you tomorrow, if you'll excuse me.
Yep.
Winding between the stacks of futons and a cramped store, I was about to go outside. Then my feet stopped.
What is it?
What is that?
That? What? What are you talking about?
Trembling all over, I pointed at it.
But
But no matter how much the boat captain squinted, he noticed absolutely nothing in that direction that should have surprised me. That must mean... Impossible. Why?
Oh, dude. Angie, what does it mean? What's going on here?
I don't have a clue either. There's no way something that ridiculous. Is this magic? A miracle? Yes, this is probably fate. Now I understand. This was my mission.
Adieu.
I don't have a clue what... Shaking, I pointed into the thin darkness inside the store and froze up.
What is it? You see something there, don't you? I don't see anything. What is it you see?
Thank you, Captain. Everything was fate. Even me visiting this place was fate. This is the mission and the purpose that I'm going to Rokanjima for.
Angie-san, what is it? Something wrong?
I don't have a clue either.
This girl is just froze up while pointing into the darkness. Angie-san, are you okay? What can you see?
Can't you two see it? It's that right there. Can't you see it?
All I can see is a normal display case. There's no one there, right? What are you, Angie? I don't know what's going on. Is this a dream? Magic? What is it? Huh? Angie?
Sokotaro lifted his face towards Angie. From his eyes slid a single tear. Angie-sama. I understand, Oni-chan and Beatrice.
Adieu.
This is magic, isn't it?
I don't understand. What the hell? What did she see?
Yeah, guess it's a good ending point. Okay. Alright. Then... That's practically the same time in real life. That's funny. Okay, I gotta say, I like this jump forward to 12 years much better than the last time, because it was had lots of interesting, mysterious information, but wasn't extremely long. Like the last one, at some point the last one was a bit dragging, but maybe that was just me because I really wanted to go back to the mansion. But this was, I like this one a lot because it was like, yeah, just gave you some really mysterious stuff that is probably gonna make me think even more, but I'm just gonna confuse me even more. And then we're back to the mansion. That's cool. So that's a good, yeah, that's something to look forward to as well for next time. Again, I might do streams during the week, but I'll have to I'll have to see. As usual, I'll let you know. And that's it for today.